My name's Marissa Hinkle, and I'm going to be presenting my favorite sensation and perception thing. I'll be discussing the ventriloquism effect. Also known as visual capture, it is a perceptual phenomenon where the listener perceives sound as originating from a visual source or a different location rather than the actual source. It demonstrates the brain's ability to integrate auditory and visual information. The effect occurs when there is a mismatch between the perceived location of a sound and its visual source. In the image there, you can see the spatial ventriloquism effect and the temporal ventriloquism effect. And how it works, our brain combines auditory and visual information to create a coherent experience of our environment. Visual cues often dominate over auditory cues that leads to a misattribution of sound sources. A ventriloquist stems from this phenomenon. An example is when a ventriloquist speaks while manipulating a puppet, the brain associates the voice with the puppet's movements, even though the sound is produced by the ventriloquist. The role of spatial cues in the ventriloquism effect. Our brains use spatial cues to determine where sounds are coming from, relying on factors like timing, intensity, and the direction of sound. The sound localization mechanisms include interaural time difference, which is the difference in the time it takes for a sound to reach each ear, helps locate its source, and the interaural level difference, which is the difference in sound intensity between the ears, also aids in localization. The visual influence is visual information can override auditory cues, creating a misperception of sound locations. To the right in the image, it shows interaural time difference and the interaural level difference. And the science behind the effect. The auditory cortex processes sound information, and the visual cortex processes visual information. Multisensory integration areas are regions like the superior temporal sulcus that combine auditory and visual inputs. The research studies, which were classic experiments like those conducted by Shams and his colleagues, showed how visual cues can shift the perceived location of sound. On the image, it shows the superior temporal sulcus on the top. And here are some everyday examples for the ventriloquism effect, also known as visual capture. The first is movies and television. Sound designs and films often create the illusion that sounds come from specific locations on screen that enhances viewing. Another is social interactions. In crowded environments, we focus on a person's lips while listening, which can make it seem like their voice is coming directly from them, even when we hear it from a distance. And lastly, virtual reality. Virtual reality technology uses sound localization to create a more immersive experience, where sounds seem to come from specific locations in a 3D space that leads to a ventriloquism effect. And that is the end. Thank you for watching.